If you feel torn between light and dark, you might be a shadow chosen one. There's a strange ache that lives within some of us, a quiet pull we don't always know how to explain. It's like standing at the edge of two worlds, one soaked in light, peace, and spiritual purity, and the other wrapped in shadows, chaos, intensity, and mystery. And while most people are trying to climb toward the light, some of us feel something else. We feel the gravity of both. We feel the call of the light, but we also feel the wisdom that breathes in the dark. And when we try to choose just one, everything feels off. Like we're abandoning something essential. If you've ever wrestled with that duality, if you've ever felt torn between being the healer and the destroyer, the sage and the sinner, and the light worker and the shadow walker, you might not be broken. You might be something far more rare, but you might be a shadow chosen one. Most of the world teaches you to pick a side, to be good, to be pure, to chase the light, reject the dark, and never question the binary. But what if that framework is incomplete? What if the most powerful souls, the ones who came here to shift the entire frequency of the planet, aren't here to choose between light and dark, but to integrate them? What if your inner conflict isn't a sign of spiritual failure, but spiritual depth? What if feeling torn is actually the first sign that you were born to hold both?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
We don't talk about this enough. We glamorize the light. We worship ascension, healing, love, forgiveness, and peace. And yes, these are sacred, but we forget that light without shadow becomes blinding, that ascension without dissension becomes ungrounded, that healing without truth becomes toxic, and peace without power becomes passive. You didn't come here to float above the world. You came here to change it. And to do that, you must know its darkness. You must face its rage, its confusion, its pain, not to be consumed by it, but to learn how to wield it with consciousness. You've probably felt it before, this strange inner paradox. You're drawn to spiritual teachings, but you also feel a connection to the underworld of the soul. You can sit in meditation and feel the light of the divine, but part of you also wants to scream, to destroy illusions, to rip away the masks society worships. You don't want to just love the world. You want to wake it. And that means stepping into places most people are afraid to go. That means descending into your own darkness, not to get lost, but to recover the parts of you that the light couldn't reach. Being a shadow chosen one doesn't mean you're dark by nature. It means you carry the capacity to hold the dark without losing your light. That's a rare gift. It means you've likely walked through hell and didn't let it break you. It means you've faced your own shame, your own rage, your own guilt, and rather than disowning it, you've learned to listen to it, and to understand it, to bring it into the conversation rather than banishing it. That's real power. And that's what makes you different from those who only walk the path of light. There's a reason your journey has felt heavier. There's a reason your transformation has been more chaotic. You're not just clearing wounds from this life, you're carrying the blueprint to transmute entire generations of shadow. You're not just healing, you're reclaiming. You're not just loving, you're liberating. And because of that, your path will never look like anyone else's. You're not here to follow a script. You're here to embody a frequency the world hasn't fully remembered yet. Let me ask you something and sit with this deeply, because it might change how you see everything about yourself. What if the parts of you you've been trying to fix are the exact parts you were meant to feel? What if your intensity isn't a flaw, but a sign of initiation? What if your anger isn't a failure of spirituality, but a sacred fire rising through a system that's sick with lies? What if your sadness is truth mourning the illusions it had to carry? You are not too much. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are becoming. And the fire you carry is sacred. You'll notice something strange on this path. The more you step into your truth, the more uncomfortable you'll make people who've only ever known one side of themselves. Your light will expose their shadow. Your shadow will challenge their light. And you'll feel the tension of not fitting in anywhere fully. But that's because you weren't made to fit. You were made to bridge. You are the alchemist. The one who transmutes pain into power, who walks between worlds, not to escape them, but to merge them. You are the embodied paradox, and that is your gift. You might find that traditional spiritual spaces don't fully resonate with you. That you want more than love and light. You want truth. You want depth. You want realness. You want transformation that costs something, not for the sake of suffering, but because you know that real gold is only found in the fire. You crave spaces where the full spectrum of your being is welcome: your rage, your desire, your confusion, your silence, your knowing. And until you create that space for yourself, you'll always feel a little out of place. But once you claim it, once you finally stop trying to be only one thing, you'll feel something unlock in you. A power that doesn't need to announce itself. A clarity that doesn't need to explain. A presence that walks into a room and changes the atmosphere without saying a word. That's the shadow chosen one in full remembrance. That's the soul who's no longer torn, but whole. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to be true. And in your truth, you become the mirror the world didn't know it needed. Not a mirror of illusion, but a mirror of totality, or of wholeness, of integration. That's where all the power lives. Not in choosing one side, but in becoming both fully and walking with grace through the storm of human contradiction. The fire between worlds, how shadow chosen ones carry the frequency of sacred destruction. There's a fire that lives inside the shadow chosen ones, a fire that doesn't just warm or illuminate, but burns. It burns down illusions. It burns through lies. It scorches the masks we've worn for too long. And though this fire may have once frightened you, confused you, or even made you feel like you were dangerous, it's time to see it for what it truly is: sacred destruction. The kind of destruction that clears the path for rebirth. The kind of destruction that removes what no longer serves, so that what's real can finally rise. If you've ever felt like something inside you wants to destroy everything fake, everything hollow, everything shallow, know that you are not broken. You're carrying the frequency of truth in a world addicted to delusion. We've been taught to fear destruction, to avoid the dark, to tiptoe around our rage, our grief, our shadows. But that fear is not natural, it's conditioned. It's a survival mechanism passed down in a world that rewards conformity and punishes authenticity. You, however, were not built to conform. You were built to disrupt, not for the sake of chaos, but because you see the rot under the surface. You feel the cracks in the foundation. And your soul simply cannot stay silent when everything around you is built on lies. That inner fire, the one that makes you question everything, the one that rises up when something feels off, is not a problem. It's your compass. It's the divine intelligence in you demanding a deeper truth. We often think of chosen ones as peaceful, serene, angelic beings who walk in light and speak in whispers. But the shadow chosen ones are different. We don't always come wrapped in white robes. Sometimes we come cloaked in mystery, with eyes that have seen too much and hearts that have broken open too many times. We carry both serenity and storm. We can sit in silence, and we can roar with the force of 1,000 lifetimes. Because we've had to become warriors of the soul, slaying our own illusions before we ever tried to guide another. And that's why our fire is sacred. It's not reactive. It's not petty. It's not explosive for no reason. It's surgical. It knows where to burn. It knows what to dismantle. It knows how to clear space for what's real. Have you ever felt like you were meant to tear something down? A belief system, a relationship, a false identity, a spiritual mask that no longer fits. That impulse is not coming from your ego, it's coming from your essence. The shadow chosen ones are here to guard the sacred by exposing the false. And that requires courage. Because people don't like to see their illusions destroyed. They will call you negative. They will call you intense. They will say you're too much. But that's only because they've built their comfort on sand, and you've come with the storm. You've come with the sacred fire that says, this isn't real. This isn't true. And we can't move forward until we burn it down. This is not about being destructive for the sake of destruction. This is about knowing when something must die so something greater can live. And shadow chosen ones hold that wisdom in their bones. We can feel when something is past its expiration date. We can sense when a system, a structure, a dynamic, or a version of ourselves is no longer aligned. And while others may cling, we are asked to release and to let the fire do its work, to trust that what is lost in the flames was never truly ours to begin with. But let me ask you something that goes deeper than words. What in your life is quietly asking to be burned? What are you holding on to out of fear, out of comfort, out of habit, even though part of you knows it's already dead? Shadow chosen ones are not afraid of death, not physical death, but ego death, identity death, illusion death. We walk with death as an ally, not an enemy. Because we understand that only through death can something new be born. And so we become the midwives of transformation, holding space for the sacred cycle of destruction and rebirth. Of course, this path isn't easy. Carrying this fire means you'll often be misunderstood. People will project their fears onto you. They'll think your intensity is aggression. They'll mistake your clarity for judgment. They'll confuse your silence for coldness. But you must remember, your fire is not here to make people comfortable. It's here to make them real. And the ones who are ready, the ones who are truly seeking, they will feel you. Not just hear you or see you. They will feel your presence like a mirror, like a flame, like an ancient remembering that says, wake up, burn what no longer serves, reclaim who you really are. You are the fire between worlds. You are the bridge between light and shadow. And in your presence, people remember that true transformation is not soft. It's not always gentle. Sometimes it's wild. Sometimes it's fierce. Sometimes it's terrifying, but it's always sacred. And that's what you offer. Not comfort, but clarity. Not safety, but soul. Not performance, but power. The kind of power that doesn't dominate, but liberates. So if you've ever wondered why you feel so much, why you burn so hot, why your truth comes with such force, it's because you were chosen to carry the flame. Not to burn the world down for the sake of chaos, but to burn away everything that keeps the world asleep. You are the sacred fire. You are the holy disruption. And your time is now. The temple of the in-between, where shadow chosen ones become their true self. There is a sacred space that few people ever reach, and even fewer know how to survive in. It's not a place you can walk to or find on any map. It's not part of any religion, any dogma, or any system. It's the space between who you used to be and who you're becoming, the in-between, the void. The temple where shadow chosen ones are stripped of everything false, everything borrowed, everything that once kept them safe but now keeps them small. To the outside world, it looks like confusion, like stagnation, like loss. But inside, something holy is happening. You're not lost, you're becoming real. And in that raw becoming, you are being forged into something the world has never seen before. This in-between is not a punishment, it's a rite of passage. It's where your identity dissolves so your essence can emerge. It's where the roles you've played begin to fall away, and you're left confronted with the truth of who you are without the mask. And that moment when you stand in the silence of your own soul, with nothing left to perform, prove, or pretend, is the birthplace of your true power. But it's also where doubt creeps in like fog. Because in that silence, your mind starts asking dangerous questions. What if I'm not who I thought I was? What if I never find my place? What if my light isn't enough to balance my shadow? And those questions are not your enemies. They are your invitations. Invitations to dive deeper than identity, but to touch the truth beneath the fear. You see, most people never enter the temple of the in-between because it requires something terrifying: surrender. Not just surrendering your pain, but surrendering your control. Surrendering your need to be understood. Surrendering the version of you that was built for survival, so the version of you built for truth can rise. The shadow chosen ones are called into this space again and again, because we're not here to build lives on illusions. We're here to build lives on authenticity. And that means we must be willing to sit in the void, to face the silence, and to let the old self die without rushing the birth of the new. In the temple of the in-between, you begin to realize that you are not just light or shadow, you are the one who holds them both. You are the space between the inhale and the exhale, the moment between the seed and the bloom. And in that space, you begin to see with new eyes. You begin to realize that your pain was not a detour, it was a portal. Your confusion was not a curse, it was a compass. Your darkness was not your downfall, it was your depth. And suddenly, all the parts of you that never made sense begin to form a constellation. Not because they were fixed, but because you finally stopped trying to fix them. Let me ask you something that might shake something deep inside you. What if the version of you you've been trying to become isn't real? What if all your effort to be better, to be more spiritual, to be more lovable, is actually pulling you away from your essence? What if who you really are doesn't need to be improved but uncovered? What if your true self isn't something you build, but something you remember? Because in the temple of the in-between, remembering is more powerful than becoming. You remember your wildness. You remember your silence. You remember your knowing. And from that place you stop trying to fit in, and you start choosing to belong to yourself, to your truth, to the mystery that lives inside your bones. This is where shadow chosen ones are reborn, not through achievement, but through integration. You don't have to reject your past to move into your future. You just have to stop dragging it with you like a ghost. You don't have to kill your ego, you just have to stop letting it lead. You don't have to silence your shadow, you just have to stop believing it's your enemy. Because in truth, your shadow is your sacred mirror, the part of you that holds your deepest gifts, your untapped potential, your spiritual DNA. And when you stop running from it, you begin to reclaim it. You begin to walk with it, not as a burden, but as a guide. And here's the thing no one tells you: when you truly integrate your shadow, you become undeniable. Not because you're loud or dominant or perfect, but because you're whole. You walk into rooms differently. You speak with a frequency that cuts through noise. You move with a groundedness that can't be faked. People won't always understand it, but they will feel it. And the ones who are ready will be drawn to you not because you saved them, but because your presence reminded them they could save themselves. This is the gift of the in-between. It strips you down to your essence so that everything you build from here on out is real. So that your relationships, your work, your voice, your path, all of it comes from truth, not performance. From power, not pretense. You stop chasing alignment and start embodying it. You stop seeking purpose and start becoming it. And though the world may still try to fit you into a box, you'll no longer need to shrink, edit, or explain yourself. Because you'll know I am not here to be understood. I am here to be true. So if you're in the in-between right now, if you're floating in the void with no clear direction, no identity to hold on to, no light at the end of the tunnel, breathe. You're not lost. You're in the temple. You're being reforged. You're being remembered. And when you emerge, you won't just be another spiritual seeker. You'll be a living embodiment of what it means to hold the full human experience in your hands and walk with grace, power, and presence through it all. The unseen rise, why shadow chosen ones are quietly rewriting the destiny of humanity. There's a movement happening right now that few can see, and even fewer can name. It doesn't have a logo, a leader, or a manifesto. It doesn't announce itself with noise or spectacle. It moves like a silent current beneath the surface of the world, subtle, steady, unstoppable. This movement is made of people who don't fit the mold, who don't follow the scripts, who don't seek validation through visibility. These are the shadow chosen ones. And while the world is distracted by the loudest voices and the brightest lights, these souls are doing something far more radical. They are rewriting reality not with force, but with frequency. Not through control, but through consciousness. They are shifting the collective vibration of humanity by changing from the inside out. But you've probably felt it. That quiet sense that something is building. That you're not just healing for yourself, you're healing for your lineage. That your inner work is not isolated, it's woven into the fabric of something much larger. Every time you break a pattern, every time you choose authenticity over approval, every time you hold truth instead of performance, you're contributing to the transformation of the whole. And yet, no one may ever see it. No one may ever applaud it. That's the nature of the unseen rise. It's not about recognition, it's about resonance. It's about becoming a living signal of what's possible when the shadow is not feared, but embraced. The world doesn't change through mass movements alone, it changes when individuals shift their frequency so radically that everything they touch begins to transform. Shadow chosen ones are doing this quietly, behind the scenes, in everyday moments that no one notices. In the way they choose compassion instead of reaction, in the way they hold space for someone falling apart, in the way they question inherited beliefs and refuse to pass on the same wounds they inherited. This is the real revolution, not in the streets, but in the soul. not in policy, but in presence, and you are part of it. There's a reason you've always felt out of place in the systems that surround you. It's because you didn't come here to maintain them. You came here to transcend them. Not by fighting them head-on, but by becoming something so real, so whole, so rooted in truth, that the old paradigms can no longer hold you. And when enough of us do that, when enough of us rise in silence, in stillness, in alignment, the collective world begins to shift without a single word being spoken. That's the power of the unseen rise. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It simply is. And in its being, it changes everything. You might not see the impact of your path right away. There will be days when it feels like nothing is happening, like your inner work is invisible, like your presence doesn't matter. But I promise you it does, because there are ripples you cannot measure. There are people who feel safer simply because you've done the work to feel safe in your own skin. There are frequencies that shift because you dared to sit in your pain instead of projecting it. There are timelines that realign because you chose truth over convenience. And none of it is wasted. None of it goes unnoticed by the intelligence that governs this universe. But the unseen rise is not about being seen by the world. It's about being felt by existence itself. Let me offer you something that most people will never say. You don't need to do more to be worthy of this mission. You don't need to hustle for your purpose. You don't need to prove your light by denying your dark. You don't need to be louder, flashier, more perfect, or more enlightened. You just need to be honest. Honest with yourself. Honest with your emotions. Honest about the duality you hold inside. Shadow chosen ones are not here to be flawless. We're here to be whole. And in a culture obsessed with performance, wholeness is revolutionary. So here we are, at the edge of something new. A world that is tired of its own illusions. A humanity that is quietly starving for depth, for truth, for the kind of presence that doesn't flinch in the face of suffering. And we, you, me, all of us walking this path are being called to rise, not with armor, but with authenticity. Not with dominance, but with discernment. Not with ego, but with embodiment. We are the ones who have learned to hold the fire and not be consumed, and to descend into the shadow and return with gold, to walk through the storm and become the calm. This is the moment you stop seeing yourself as separate, as small, as behind. You are part of something vast, ancient, and alive. Your presence is a frequency. Your healing is a signal. Your integration is a blueprint. And even if no one ever thanks you, even if no one ever sees the battles you've fought in silence, know this: you are rewriting the destiny of humanity. Not with noise, not with spectacle, but with truth. And that is the most powerful kind of rise there is.